Hi, I'm Shelly. Welcome back to my channel. I've been putting out this video now for a couple of weeks probably. This is going to be my January reading wrap-up. Way back in January, it's almost into February now, so I figured it's about time I just went ahead and did it. I did write down a few notes. I find that with a lot of books, I don't remember a lot of details about the books once I read them. So I just wrote down a few things about each one to talk about. I finished 9 books in January. I did start one in January and finish it on the 1st of February, so I mentioned that one at the end. I did read approximately 3,200 pages, but for the Read What You Own reading challenge, which I'm only counting my physical books that I own, that are on my physical TBR, there's about 2,389 pages, give or take a few pages. So from November 5th, when that reading challenge started, to the end of January, I started at 25,000 pages, and end of January I was down to about 17,000 pages. So in January, like I said, I read 9 books. It's 8 fiction, there was 1 nonfiction. There was memoir, fantasy, classics, mystery thrillers, a bit of everything, which is what I like to read. So I'll start off with the first book that I read in January. I did get an early review copy of the audiobook from Macmillan Audio through NetGalley, but I also did pre-order the physical copy way back last October, and that's through Gates of Garnet and Gold by Shauna Maguire. This is the 11th book in the Wayward Children series. I've loved all the books in this series. They're only short. This one was, 147 pages, so they're all really short. They're all novellas. And of course, they're about children who find doors to other worlds, and when sometimes they come back through those doors, and then they can't really cope with the real world, and of course people don't believe them except this school, Eleanor's Wayward Children School. So and this story is about Nancy. And this one takes part in the Halls of the Dead. I don't want to say much more because Nancy was at the very beginning in book 1, so I don't really want to give away anything that might have happened in the other books, because each book usually covers different characters. And this one, living statues find themselves under attack by the spirits of the recently deceased. So Nancy comes back to look for help looks to her friends for help. And I really enjoyed this book. I enjoy all the books, like I said. And because they're only short, this is only a quick read. And I do plan on reading them all again at some point in the future, and I do enjoy them. They're classed as, it says adult, but it's young adults. Maybe certain children over a certain age maybe could read them, because they are like a fantastical, it's urban fantasy, bit of mystery, adventurous, and they are fast paced. So I think you'd have to judge yourself if a younger child, like 12, 13, would read it or not. But I've enjoyed all of them. The next book I read in January was After the Funeral by Agatha Christie. And this is a Hercule Poirot novel. This one is Richard Abernathy's funeral. And it's after the funeral, the family get together, and I believe it was his sister. His sister Cora Lansquenet. Not sure if I'm saying that right. She's been known to like just blurt out things, and I guess she's always been a bit eccentric, known to her family. And at the dinner, she's heard saying, "It's been hushed up very nicely, hasn't it? But he was murdered, wasn't he?" And people here heard her say that at the dinner, and then the next day she is found murdered. So the family solicitor calls on Hercule Poirot and asks him if he can help solve her murder, because she was clearly murdered, and to see if her brother Richard's death was murder or not. And as usual, there's so many different characters. Some of them are thrown in as red herrings. So I can never figure out who the murderer is. So I'm just along for the ride usually. That's that one. I did enjoy that one. Third book I read in January is a new release. Came out late last year. It's Evil Bones by Kathy Reichs. This is book 24 in the Temperance Brennan series. This is a crime, thriller, mystery series, and Temperance Brennan is a forensic anthropologist, and she works with the police in Montreal and North Carolina. So in this one, she's in North Carolina, and for anyone, this one involves animal mutilation. So anyone who that might bother them, pets, maybe you might have to skip this one. Or maybe be careful when you're reading, maybe skip over some scenes if you can. So that would be a warning that I would give. I did enjoy this one, but I'm not sure some of the things that throughout the story, some of the things that Temperance did, it's kind of questionable to me. And the ending the ending kind of threw me off. Left me wondering if there was more to the story, like the person that they arrested for the crimes. To me, it seemed like there might be more to it, but I might be reading more into that than there is really, so I'm not really sure, but well, I did enjoy this one all the same. And actually this one, I forgot to mention, every month I do the Buzzword Reading Challenge, so this one was for On the Cover Reading Challenge, which featured internal body parts. So of course there was bones on the cover of this one, and so that one took care of that challenge. And I forgot to mention in the title challenge, Buzzword Reading Challenge, before and after I think was the it'd be a word in the title. So this one of course was after the funeral, so that covered that challenge. And the next book I read in January, I had an e-arc from Simon & Schuster Canada, so I'll put up a picture here somewhere. And this one was called Is This a Cry for Help by Emily Austin. I didn't read any of it. I haven't read any of her books before. And it's described, well, it's emotional, funny, reflective. There are themes of mental health, sexuality, and library support. So I did learn, she's a Canadian author, so I did learn some things about how the library works, what librarians have to deal with day in and day out. In this book, see what I had here for my review and some of the notes. In this one, the main character, Darcy, she's a librarian. Her wife, Joy, runs a bookbinding service. They live in a house by the lake. And then she finds out that, Darcy finds out that her ex-boyfriend, Ben, passed away. I think it wasn't right after he passed away. She found out like a while after he died. And then she spirals into a pit, says there, into a pit of guilt and regret, and suffers a mental breakdown and takes medical leave from the library. So this is her talking through how, and through the story, how she why she felt the way she did about when she found out when he died, and how she dealt with it, with her and her wife. And when she returns to work, there is some unrest in the library community. There's protests surrounding intellectual freedom, and there's calls for book bans and things like that. And also a second look at the branch's upcoming DEI programs. So there's a lot going on. In this story, but I really did enjoy it. And I think I would read some more of Emily Austin's books. I have heard good things about her books, and I really did enjoy this one. And like I said, it has a lot of different themes, so I think it's like a really well-rounded book. And I was surprised at how much I learned about how libraries work. And the next book I read in January is this one I read for the Read Good Reading Challenge. And in January, it was to read a book with food in the title of the book. So, of course, first one I thought of was The Grapes of Wrath. This one is by John Steinbeck. I'm sure everybody has heard about this one. It was published in 1939. I think I'd written down there, and it was set in the 1930s. And it follows a family, the Joad family in Oklahoma. And they've lived there for years. I think like Tom Joad's family, his parents, and maybe even his grandparents, I'm not sure, I don't remember right offhand, lived there, built the farmhouse, lived on the land, and they were allowed to live there, of course, because they farmed the land for the owners of the land. And then they were told that the land is not worth farming anymore, and they had to leave. So they had to just pack up what they can take with them, and they are heading to California because that is where they've heard there is work there. I mean, they have very little money, and so this is where there's like thousands of people. So it's like hundreds of families are all traveling to same places in California because they hear this is where there is work for them. This is the beginning of like the Great Depression in the United States, where the Dust Bowl, where there's no rain for years. But I've heard about this book for years since it's been out, and I just never read it. I don't know why. I did read East of Eden a few years ago and really enjoyed that one, the story. I would like to read these are, I guess, books that you would want to read again because you kind of retain more and you remember more the more you read them. And I did like the writing from the very beginning. The first few lines in chapter 1 says here, "To the red country and part of the gray country of Oklahoma, the last rains came gently, and they did not cut the scarred earth. The plows crossed and recrossed the rivulet marks. The last rains lifted the corn quickly and scattered weed colonies and grass along the sides of the road so that the gray country and the dark red country began to disappear under a green cover. In the last part of May, the sky grew pale, and the clouds that had hung in high puffs for so long in the spring were dissipated. The sun flared down on the growing corn day after day until a line of brown spread along the edges of each gray bayonet. The clouds appeared and went away, and in a wall they did not try any more. The weeds grew darker green to protect themselves, and they did not spread any more. The surface of the earth crusted a thin, hard crust, and as the sky became pale, so the earth became pale, pink in the red country and white in the gray country." So that is how the Dust Bowl started. There was no rain, of course, no crops. So, of course, this was the hardships of them leaving Oklahoma, traveling to California, the whole family, the Joad family, Tom, and I forget his wife's name now. I can't remember offhand, but then it's him, and then there are grandparents, there's children, and of course they do lose family members along the way. So it's a lot of hardships, of course, and I'm sure like from the way it ended, of course, there are still more hardships to continue after this actual story. and I really did enjoy it, and I certainly would read it again, and I would highly recommend it if you've never read it. Now, the next one is the nonfiction I read in January, and this one is a big one, over 600 pages, and this is Book of Lives, a memoir of sorts by Margaret Atwood. And I have read some of the reviews on her book, and I know some people complained it was long, but I mean, the woman is 86 years old, so I think she has a long life to talk about. So I mean, if you're really interested in her life, how she grew up, and from then on till now, I mean, I really enjoyed the story. I took my time reading it. I listened to the audiobook as well. And I really did enjoy her story. I mean, she grew up basically in the Canadian wilderness because her father was an entomologist. So, of course, they spent a lot of time in the wilderness for his work. And, of course, her mother spent her time looking after her and her two siblings. That's how it started. She tells a lot about her family and early life, and right up through her schooling, university, and then on through her whole life, and in between all this, like when it gets to her publishing, starting her writing and publishing her books, she talks about a little bit about each book, not a lot. And she does speak a lot about her partner Graham. They weren't married, but I mean, they lived, I'm not sure how many years, many years together, decades together, and they had one daughter. And there are a lot of pictures in the book as well, in a couple sections. Pictures from her early life and later life as well. And I did enjoy the part where, I mean, she does talk a lot about the people that are important to her in her life, and people who she liked and some people she didn't like. I enjoyed that as well. And I enjoyed all their stories, especially with the publishing. When she started publishing her books in Canada, there wasn't really much publishing of Canadian authors. There weren't many Canadian authors that were published in Canada at the time. So like, she started from the very beginning of when there was publishing in Canada. So I really did enjoy this book, and if you're a fan of Margaret Atwood, I have read a few of her books over the years, but there are many that I haven't read. So if you are a fan of her, I think you would enjoy it. She narrates her book as well, which I really liked about that. It was like she was telling her story. So I enjoyed that part of it as well. Let's see, the next one I read in January was a reread, and it was a banned book. So I'm trying to do rereads every month and choose a banned book every month. So this one combined for both. Of course, this is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. It was published in 1937. I mean, it's a book for all ages, really. I think he might have wrote it for his children. And apparently this one was challenged or banned because of allegations of promoting witchcraft, satanic themes, and occultism, which, well, I guess by religious groups. So I'm not sure, take from that what you will, but of course, I'm sure everyone knows what The Hobbit is about. It's classic fantasy. It's for middle grade up to anybody can read it. And it's about Bilbo Baggins, and he's a hobbit, and he likes to keep to himself. And then one day his friend Gandalf the wizard shows up, and 13 dwarves? Yeah, 13 dwarves. And they want him to go on an adventure with him to find some stolen treasure from the dragon Smaug. So that is a quest that he goes on with them. And of course, then it's the Lord of the Rings books after that. So I really did enjoy rereading this one. And let's see what else I got left. 2 more. The last 2 were ARCs. I was scrolling through NetGalley, and then I saw this book. I'll put a picture up here somewhere. The cover was what drew me in, and it's called this Soyangri Book Kitchen by Kim Ji-hai, and it's I think was her debut book. It was originally published in South Korea, I guess, in 2022, and it was published. It came out yesterday, I guess, in Canada and US. And this one, it's a fiction contemporary. I got the audio book. It's from HarperCollins Canada audio, which I did enjoy listening because, of course, with different languages, I'm not really sure how to pronounce the people's names. So I did enjoy listening to the audiobook. It's slow paced, and it's about Eugene. She was an IT entrepreneur, and she becomes burnt out with her job and decides to buy a piece of land in Soyangri, outside. It's a couple hours outside of Seoul, Korea. So she decides to build it's a book kitchen. I'll read a bit what it says here. She built it's a book kitchen, so it's like a cafe, and you can also stay there. She has rooms where you can stay there, and there are books, so it's like a book cafe place to stay. And it says here, the book kitchen is more than just a place to eat or read. It's a place which offers guests a true escape, not just inside the pages of its many books, but in the warm embrace of an overnight book stay. So in this book, I think the book's only like 4 hours. It's not really long. And over the course of a year, 7 individuals, each at a crossroads in their lives, finds their way to Eugene's book kitchen. Among them is Da-in, a music idol grappling with an identity crisis. So-hee, a promising lawyer confronted with a daunting medical diagnosis. And Soo-yuk, a young musical director whose dreams have been stifled by failure. As they arrive in Soyangri, each character finds their lives subtly transformed by the magic found in its pages and the kindness of its people. So this one is really just a cozy slice of life book. And I think this one would be, actually no, it's not 4 hours, 6-hour audiobook. I think this one would be nice, like if you're reading something heavier or like a longer, like a fantasy or something, you just pick this one up to read in between that and another one. And I really did enjoy this one, and I would highly recommend it. Excuse me. Now, the last book that I read in January doesn't come out until July. And I was lucky enough to get an e-ARC through NetGalley. I requested it from Atria Books. And I was very surprised to get it. And that is Habits of the Sea by Shea Ernshaw. I love Shea Ernshaw's writing. I've read all her books, most of all her books. I think the only one I didn't read was, I think, Return of the Pumpkin Queen or something it's called, I believe. But I've read her others, YA books, and this is her second adult book she's written. This means I've talked long enough. Okay, so this one, I haven't even written down my review on NetGalley for it. But I know I'm going to give it 5 stars. I did love the book. I love her writing anyway. This one, it does go through slowly, so it's not like a fast-paced mystery type book. It's fiction, it's literary, it's magical realism. There is and speculative fiction. and romance. So it's a bit of everything. So let's see if I can talk about it before I lose my voice altogether. Okay, so I tried to get through that last book, but my throat was just too dry, so I had to take a break right at the end of the video. So now I will go through Habits of the Sea by Shea Ernshaw again. I'll put the picture up here. Like I said before, this is her second adult novel. She did write a few YA books, which I really enjoyed as well. And this one is fiction, literary, magical realism, romance, and speculative fiction. So her books kind of always have a little bit of everything in it. So this one is, I don't know if you'd call it time travel, but it's time bending. So the description here, it says, the night Clay Lockhart's wife dies, a violent storm tears their home and 8 hectares of land beneath it away from the Scottish coast, sending it adrift into the Atlantic. 30 years later, 12-year-old Ellie Mills discovers the fabled floating island off the coast of Nova Scotia and finds Clay still living in the weather-worn farmhouse perched on its highest hill. When the island vanishes overnight, Ellie is left questioning whether it ever existed at all. But decades later, now in her 30s, the island resurfaces and Ellie returns, determined to uncover the truth. What she finds is even stranger. Clay hasn't aged a single day. Faced with the impossible, Ellie learns that some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, and that a life shaped by wonder may hold more promise than one bound by certainty. So this book, in the beginning, Ellie is 12. She sees the island one night, and she decides to take a rowboat out to the island. She is there a few hours. Clay finds her, and she's a little bit wet, so she stays there for a few hours, and then he says like she has to go because the island will probably float away again. So she goes back to shore, and she's surprised because her family, her grandmother's looking for her, the police are looking for her, and they were like really worried about her. She thought she was only gone for a few hours, but to everybody else she was gone a full week. So, but of course nobody really believes about the island. So of course she grows up, and that island is always in the back of her mind. She thinks that, was it real or wasn't it real? And she becomes a psychiatrist or psychologist. And then one day there are sightings of the island, and one day it is sighted somewhere, and she's deciding, should she leave her life, go see if the island really does exist, or stay where she is. So, of course, at the beginning, she does decide to go look for the island, and that's where the story takes off from there. So I found it was a little bit long, a little bit slow in the middle. And like when I was like maybe 2/3, the lower halfway, I'm just wondering like where's the story going to go? What's going to happen? Like something else has to happen in the story. And of course, right towards the end, it was like a twist to it, and wasn't something that I saw coming, and I really did enjoy it. I mean, some people might have mixed reviews of what they thought of the ending, but if you read any of her other books, I think you would enjoy this one. Her writing is, I'd call it like lyrical, magical, because it is magical realism. Her writing is very atmospheric in the settings that she chooses, and I really did enjoy this book. This probably will be one of my favorite books of the year. Her books tend to be my favorites anyway of the year whenever she has a book out. So that is it for that one. And I did start later in January. I did start Time's Convert by Deborah Harkness. That one there. That is the 4th book in the All Souls series. And this one is there was the first 3 books, and they kind of wrapped up the overarching story. But this book is Marcus's main character from the series, and this is his origin vampire story of him, and when he meets Matthew de Clermont. So this is more or less his story. And there are some other characters from the series that are involved, but I don't really want to go too much into it. Well, I can talk about it next when I wrap up my February reading, but I can't really say a lot about what's going on, because then it might spoil something if you haven't read the first books in the series. So that's all I'll say about that right now. And that is it for my reading for this month. If you've read any of these, let me know if you enjoyed them or not, and let me know if there's something that you've read lately or an author that you really enjoyed. Let me know. So these are the ones, plus the couple arcs that I read. And that's it for this month. I'm hoping to just get another video. I'm hoping to get this video edited and put up tonight, tomorrow. And then I need to film. I do have most of my books picked out for March, so I'll probably film that video, and then first week of March I'll probably just try to do my February reading wrap up and get that done. And I have a few more videos, I just haven't had time to film them, so I'm hoping to do those sometime in March. Whether or not remains to be seen. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon with another video. Bye.